This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel this evening. And I'm late getting to it, but for good reason. You know, you got some stuff to take care of in life, and sometimes birthday present comes up pretty important on that list. So that said, all of that aside, we got some big news coming in that Darnell Nurse has signed a 2-year, $5.6 million AAV contract, which is annual average value if you're unfamiliar. Sorry, I'm very tired. This has been a very long weekend for me. But that said, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll present you the official information as per the TSN guys, Bob McKenzie and Darren Dragon. Whoop. Edmonton and pending RFA Darnell Nurse are finalizing a 2-year contract extension with an AAV at a shade higher than 5.5, and Darren Drager says a shade would be 5.6. So right there, that's what you've got. 2 years of arbitration eligibility bought for the Oilers, so they aren't talking to Darnell Nurse in the arbitration rooms. They're talking to him right now. Job is done. It's over. It's finished with. And now the Oilers go on knowing a little bit more what their cap looks like moving forward to next year. And it was funny because I was recording a video about moving Darnell Nurse to forward either this year, next year at some point, especially in contention with these contract extension talks that were coming. And realistically, now you've got a little bit more sense, right? Darnell Nurse is the highest paid Edmonton Oilers defenseman. Make of that what you will, right? It's realistically, he's a beauty. He's an absolute awesome defenseman. No real problems about it. Problem is, the past 3 weeks, the guy's been under the microscope. The guy's been in the spotlight and has really kind of, to a degree, or to a significant degree, has floundered in that position. And that's rough, right? Is because when you're trying to estimate a guy to think, oh, well, we got to figure out how much we can pay him. We got to figure out if he's really worth what he's asking for. We got to figure out if we can pay him as much as we think we can. Well, guess what? What you tend to do, instead of look for all the things he does right, you tend to look for all the things he does wrong. And ladies and gentlemen, I have seen a lot of things wrong with Darnell Nurse this past 3 weeks, and I have not seen a lot of good right stuff. So it's a little bit concerning, and that's where I'd put it. It's just maybe this contract not coming at the best time for the Edmonton Oilers and Darnell Nurse. But that said, is there ever really a right time for a $5 million contract extension? Because usually you start signing a guy 5 north, it's because he's doing something right. Well, let me tell you, then that breeds the possibility he could stop doing that right thing. And you ask Sabres fans, what about Mr. Jeff Skinner, right? That's at the end of the day, what about Jeff Skinner? And that's kind of your cautionary tale for things going right. And of course, Darnell Nurse, maybe your cautionary tale for things going wrong at the right time. Right? You get where I'm going with that. All right, let me get you Nurse's stats here. February 2020. Oh man, time is flying by, and I am needing to get to bed here really quick, and now I can't find my mouse on my computer, guys. Sorry, I've been up till 2 on Friday night, and then I was up till 3 on this morning. I guess that's the only way to put it. So let me get these stats for you, and let's get this dealt with, because I would like to get to bed. And well, it's 7:05. You'd probably like to get to your Sunday evening. You've got Walking Dead. You've got probably a lot of goodies going on this weekend. I don't know if Walking Dead's on this weekend or next weekend, but unfortunately I haven't had AMC in 3 years, so I couldn't tell you. 2015-2016 Edmonton Oilers, 10 points in 69 games for Darnell Nurse. Then you've got, of course, 44 games, 11 points. And then 17-18, this when Darnell really became a full factor. 26 points in 82 games. Good little season there. Even better season last year. But man, oh man, Darnell Nurse had some rough moments last year, as he has had this year. So let's not be too cautious, right? But 22 points in 52 games. The only worrying tale, and I guess this would be kind of what I'd be calling you, that what's going on with Darnell Nurse, as simple as this. 52 games. He has not seen much ice in overtime this year. The Oilers, I don't think, have as many overtime games as they did last year. And Darnell Nurse did score several overtime winners last season with, of course, Trisettle and McDavid when Clefbaum was hurt. So that does increase the goal scoring a little bit. There's your little asterisk on that, but that's what you need to know. And that's as simple as it gets, right? So Darnell Nurse realistically is $5.6 million for next year, going to break the back of the Edmonton Oilers. Well, consider that every fan is starting to talk about moving Russell. Every fan is starting to talk about moving Larson. You move two of those guys in the offseason, suddenly that's $8 million in cap space. You've got Bouchard. You've got guys that can replace both of them, right? Caleb Jones full-time replaces Chris Russell pretty simply, other than the shot blocking, and that's really all that's special about Chris Russell, is just that he's a man who will get in front of a puck and an absolute warrior out there. Now, the projected cap hit for the Edmonton Oilers minus the Darnell Nurse contract on cap friendly right now is $62.4 million. You add up 5.6, that's technically speaking now you're at $68 million. The cap should be sitting around 83 this offseason at bare minimum, while suddenly you've got about $15 million in cap space to move around, technically speaking, I'd imagine. That's just kind of who actually knows, but I'd say 15, and your guess is as good as mine, $15 to $10 million in cap space come the offseason. That seems to make a lot of sense for us, right? Marcus Granlund's off the books, Thomas Sherko's off the books, Brad Malone's off the book. Like, there's a lot of guys in the minors off the book. Manning, Granlund, as I mentioned, off the books. Then you've got Nygaard, Brodziak off the books. Who really knows what's going to happen with Nygaard? Would love to keep him. Mike Smith is an interesting one. That one we'll have to wait till the spring for. Ethan Bear, that's going to be the difficult extension. Legason, Benning, probably going to be fairly simple extensions. Patrick Russell, probably time to just wash your hands, say goodbye. Sheehan, not as difficult of an extension, probably a 1.5. That's a raise of about $500K. Archibald, same thing. Sam Gagner, goodbye. This Oilers team really not that hurting as bad as it was in this situation last offseason. And realistically, the Oilers want to solve the problem as quick as possible with Darnell Nurse and a $5.6 million extension for the next 2 years. Realistically, you punt it down the road, that leaves him as a UFA for Seattle to take, and you can re-sign him if you want at that point, or however you want to go. Seattle is a factor in here somewhere, but there's a lot more to discuss to Seattle than just Darnell Nurse, and we'll leave that for another day. But you look at it the other way too, is simply put, for Darnell Nurse is, there's so many options here. You can use him as a forward. Having him as a defenseman is not going to kill you, but probably not the grade A option you want because of the way it's been going lately. That said, Darnell Nurse suddenly click, click, bang in his head, and we're talking one of the best defensemen in the NHL on a very good D-core next year. But who's to say, right? We have Oilers luck, not Boston luck, not LA Kings luck, right? We have Oilers luck at the end of the day, so that one's tough. But what else is there really to say with Darnell Nurse other than you hope it works out? Bridge deal gets us down the road. 5.6 won't kill us for the next 2 years, and realistically, I think the question becomes 5.6 for the next 2 years. You're still paying Milan Lucic $750K per season against the cap. You're paying James Neal 5.7. So if I'm a gambling man, I'm thinking the Oilers actually probably find a way to trade James Neal for what would be pennies on the dollar, but technically it would be dimes on the pennies when it comes to what you traded for James Neal last offseason. So it gets really interesting, this whole Oilers move, but the one thing this all does, to wrap it up nicely, is it gives us a clearer picture before we hit the offseason, right? It's not that Keith Gretzky's still the interim general manager and Ken Holland hasn't been hired yet. We don't have that going into this offseason. And by Ken Holland doing these moves, it just kind of puts the pieces together to actually make real moves in the offseason. So it all comes together. And at the end of the day, this lifts a weight off Nurse. And guys, I think to my point about maybe this click, click, bang for Darnell Nurse, maybe having a contract now solves a heck of a lot of issues we've seen in his game. He's maybe been thinking too much, and that allows him to become the best defenseman for the next 20 so games, and we're in the playoffs, no problem. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, guys. I'm Tyson, this is Stalling the TV. I will catch you tomorrow. No more tonight. I'm up on out of here.